Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Welcome. Great to be with you on this Friday. We head into the weekend. Russell Wilson will get a start at quarterback for the Steelers. So it'll be the first chance for Steeler fans to see him in a Pittsburgh uniform playing quarterback.
Let Russ cook, baby. Let Russ cook.
Oh, jeez.
I'm here for fun, Steve.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm a big Arthur Smith guy as the offensive coordinator. I think he understands personnel. George Pickens, I talked to Jerry Dulac yesterday, and Jerry's been at camp every day. George Pickens has been a highlight reel in practice every day they've been out there, which is phenomenal. They really don't have a balance on the other side. I know they've talked a little bit about Roman Wilson, who's been banged up, but something Jerry said to me, he says, Steve, he says, I was shocked at how slight he is. And I said, obviously I've seen him the last 3 years, so I knew that. I said, that's why he needs to play in the slot. You need to keep him off of contact. I said, the oddity is when Penn State's been physical with him, he hasn't been able to make plays. I said the one time they weren't physical with him was the game in here 3 years ago, and he caught 2 touchdown passes against Joey Porter Jr. I said, and you and I both know Joey Porter Jr. can be a bit handsy. I said, for some reason that day he decided not to be handsy, and he got beat twice in the back of the end zone on post patterns.
So what you're saying is Joey Porter Jr. is being handsy in practice.
Look, you gotta be handsy. You know, I mean, look, especially in the college game, it's okay to be handsy in the college game because you don't have the 5-yard rule. Right? You just have to be able to know that when the ball's in the air, you can back off.
Yeah,
and you don't grab jerseys. Don't grab. Right? Feel like Vince Lombardi. Grab. That's all you do is grab. Right. And so they're going to need somebody else to step up because, I mean, Deontay Johnson isn't there anymore. Look, Harris has a chance to be a big-time running back. Arthur Smith understands how to use running backs. He had Derrick Henry down in Tennessee, so he knows how to use that. The offensive line is exponentially better than the one Wilson had in Denver. That's going to help. But Wilson doesn't have the mobility that he had when he was in Seattle. That's just a product of age, and I also think it's a little bit of a product of weight with him. And so now we'll see. It's not as if he hasn't guided teams into the playoffs. It's not as if he's guided teams into Super Bowls. It's not as if he's never won a Super Bowl. Mitchell Trubisky could not claim any of that.
No.
Kenny Pickett couldn't claim any of that.
Nope.
We won the ACC championship game. Like, really? Beat Wake Forest? Really? Okay.
Tough game.
Yeah, sure it was. But that's, I mean, you know, their defense is good. I think it's really helped. I thought they had one of the top 2 or 3 free agent acquisitions in the offseason. That's Patrick Queen at linebacker. You know, number one, you take him away from your primary opponent. And number 2, the guy's just a quality player. I mean, when he was in Baltimore with Roquan Smith, there were times I couldn't tell who was better, Smith or Queen. Smith got most of the pub. Queen was really good. Well, Queen's going to really help them out at that linebacking spot, and that will be a big plus for them. And, you know, to go in conjunction with a T.J. Watt, Hayward, people like that. Their defense should be pretty good, and Boswell's one of the better kickers in the game. So a lot of it's going to come down to whether Russ can make plays, especially in the short to medium range. And because of Pickens, you may not be in the spot of the 10-play, 75-yard drive. And that is, going to be, I think, an important part of all of this.
Yeah.
Yesterday came and went on Florida State and Clemson. Again, for the listeners of the podcast of the show, I know you're shocked by that.
I'm so surprised, Steve.
Yeah,
they didn't leave the ACC yet? What?
I mean, who would have thought that? Oh, wait, we did.
Yeah.
I'm just getting, I mean, it doesn't mean at some point a court doesn't rule in their favor on something. I don't know what it would be. But they're committed to playing now in the 25-26 season. Mm-hmm. Right? It's just going to keep going. And I think now here's the next shoe to fall. Mm-hmm. It'll be in the wintertime, January, February. That's when ESPN has to declare the opt-in on the final 9 years of the ACC contract. Mm-hmm. What do you think? You think ESPN's not going to opt in on it? Of course they're going to opt in on it. Now, will the ACC ask for a little bit more money? Mm-hmm. Sure, but they're not going to get SEC money, and they're not going to get Big Ten money, but they might get a little bit more.
They might get to that third spot. They might be able to beat out the Big 12 in terms of monetary value.
I would doubt that. I don't think they're going to get past the Big 12 because the Big 12's monetary value is a combination of Fox and ESPN. Okay, so remember that. Now they might get, the ACC might get more money than the Big 12 on the ESPN part of the contract,
but not on the whole.
Right, the whole, because remember, Fox has the other part of the Big 12 contract. Because the Big 12 is just sitting there, and they would love to get Florida State and Clemson.
Oh, yeah.
Pitt and Syracuse didn't want.
Why you got to bring Syracuse into this, Steve? Why you got to hurt my heart like that?
You're sitting there. That's why.
Hey, everything coming out of Syracuse so far is that it's going to be a real good year for the school. Kyle McCord looking good, representing the name Kyle really well up there in the land of the orange, and I'm on board with it. Fran Brown till I die, baby. We're ride or die Fran Brown team. We're here for it. It's okay. When Syracuse makes the playoffs, I will be able to. I will laugh. Yeah, I said it. When Syracuse makes the college ball playoff this season, I will come onto this program wearing all orange, Steve. All orange. You heard it here first.
The Big 12 doesn't want Syracuse or Pitt. All right, so, but they would love to get Florida State and Clemson.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to think if I talked about this with you yesterday. It was about forward thinkers.
We've discussed some forward thinkers in recent weeks, yes.
And Brett Yormark comes off as a forward thinker. Mm-hmm. But Brett Yormark comes off as a forward thinker, but doesn't have great cards.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're trying to forward think with pocket threes in your hand. Yeah, it's not great.
Now, Jim Phillips is sitting there at the poker table, and if you're not sure who the mark is, the mark might be you. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Yormark talks a good game, bold. The Big 12, in my opinion, gets an A+ for survival.
Mm-hmm. He's kept his hand alive the entire time. He's kept his chips alive. He keeps going through it.
They are a C+, B- in terms of what they actually have. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, which matchup are you dying to see in the Big 12? There isn't any matchup you are aching to see in the Big 12. It used to be, okay, Oklahoma's going to play Texas. You couldn't wait for that game.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Red River Showdown, the whole thing, Cotton Bowl. Right? And if Texas or Oklahoma happen to be in an upset situation,
it was big.
Right? There was a big deal. Iowa State has a chance to win in Oklahoma. Okay. Right? That doesn't exist anymore. What's their big game? There is no big game.
I guess like Texas Tech versus Oklahoma State? Question mark?
Utah, Oklahoma State? But that doesn't draw eyeballs, okay? So you can be the forward, the brash press conference forward thinker all you want, but your cards aren't very good.
Yeah.
Okay? Which means you're spending half your time bluffing.
You are going in there confident saying, I have the best hand possible. And again, it is a 3 and 4 of spades. That's what you've got versus the Big Ten and SEC are sitting there with pocket aces saying, okay.
They have multiple aces all over the place. when Texas and Oklahoma in 2021, it was announced that they were going to go to the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
The Big 12 was thought to be dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that's it. They're going to break up. I mean, there's some people like, hey, the Big 10 ought to get Kansas and Colorado. I'm like going, okay, just don't type anything, okay? Just stop thinking you're only hurting the ball club. All right? They don't bring anything.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically.
Yes.
But then the Big 12 came up with a survival plan, starting with Bob Bowlesby. Not just Yormark, but Bob Bowlesby.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be honest. If you're the Big 10 and expanding, do you want UCF? Nope.
Mm-mm.
Do you want Cincinnati? Nope.
Mm-mm.
Do you want BYU? Nope.
Mm-mm.
Do you want Houston? No.
Mm-mm.
There's no team that the SEC or the Big 10 wanted that the Big 12 got.
Yeah.
Right? They moved up
They grabbed
a level.
the heavy hitters.
They moved up a level and suddenly became part of the Power, at that time, Power 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's go to the next round of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
The Pac-12 is going along, and all of a sudden, boom, USC and UCLA tell the world, we in 2022, hey, we're going to the Big Ten. Because they saw the writing on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
UCLA is looking around at a $104 million athletic department deficit. They need cash, okay, to keep everything alive. And now with this, of course, when they made the move, nobody knew about the $22 million.
Yeah, now they need it.
Right? I mean, they needed it before, and they need it now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Pac-12 is going along, and they got actually, if they had accepted the original ESPN and Fox offer,
They'd be live.
in September of 2023, or excuse me, in September of 2022, no, we can do better because some professor at Stanford said, well, no, this is all wrong. I mean, you're worth $50 million each. Over here in the back, okay, you don't do life on theory. You do life on reality. The reality is the market is set by either market, brand, football, and not necessarily in that order.
Yeah.
Okay. What was this guy? And they actually listened to him. Okay. In real life, you don't listen to a person like that. You just don't. You just sit there and nod your head and go, "Hey, really nice job on the research. Appreciate it. Thanks. We'll take it from here."
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, seriously, I sat back. When I read that, I go, what were they listening to this guy for? Everybody knew what the valuation was.
It's like
anybody that follows it in our business sat back and looked at it and went, what is he thinking? Right? But he made them believe it.
Yeah.
Right? No.
Well, it's like you go into the Yankees from like 2010, and you go into a playoff game, and it's like with the best bullpen in the league. You have Mariano Rivera, so you have Oregon and Washington. And who's behind him? I don't know. The left pinky of Jabba Chamberlain?
So then they turned down that deal because of what this guy said.
Ridiculous.
You're like, what are you doing? What are you listening to this person for? This is not a media market person. Okay? So now they're going round and round and round. And when they brought forward the Apple deal, which was not a good deal because Apple was not going to allow any over-the-air. It was going to be Apple exclusive.
Which would have been...
And the base was 23 with bonuses to 25. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oregon and Washington said, oh, my God, we got to get out of here.
We'll get 25 in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And they had already been vetted because the year before they'd been, they threw in to the Big Ten. They'd already been vetted, so the process was easy. So then they're out. So now the Pac-12, now suddenly, instead of the Big 12 being dead, the Pac-12 is now dead. Let's give the Big 12 credit. They went out and they got the 4 schools they needed to get. Now, I give them credit for that. But remember, they're all looking for lifeboats.
When you have a pile of garbage, you add more garbage to it, doesn't make it much better.
Utah's not. Utah's really good. Arizona's great basketball. Okay, not good basketball, great basketball. All right. Colorado, very good basketball. Football is I honestly, I don't think he's going to bring them back. I really don't. But
they've got eyeballs on him.
Right, but they get eyeballs. And Arizona State has had some moments in, both football, basketball, but only moments. All right. Well, that at least they're bringing them in gave them a little more cachet. Okay. And Yormark did that. And they also did it incredibly cost effective for the simple reason is because the grant of rights was going to be running out on August 2nd, right? There was going to be no exit fee, no grant of rights. It was nice and clean, no mess, no fuss, no muss. So then the ACC goes out and they weaken themselves by getting SMU, Cal, and Stanford. And please don't be the person at the party that says, look at all the medals that Stanford and Cal won. It doesn't matter in this scenario. It's whether you bring cachet to the table on the football field. It does not matter if you have an athlete that's great at Taekwondo. Okay? It doesn't. Okay? It's nice prestige. That's good. I like, okay? I'm not talking about that. You don't sit there and say, oh, we should get Stanford. They win the Learfield Cup every year. Who cares? Okay, I need the football program.
And I know there are some people who online would be like, oh, but basketball-wise, it adds something.
No.
The ACC doesn't need anything basketball-wise. They have the basketball programs. They don't need anything.
Neither of those two are very good in basketball right now. Cal was awful last year. Stanford was not good at all.
And also,
they have weakened the conference to the point where you've got conference teams trying to get better. I already know this. Not better non-conference schedules because they're worried that the ACC conference schedule doesn't give them enough strength of schedule to impress a tournament committee.
Syracuse just announced, I believe, a game against Texas, I think.
They need it. They need it.
Yeah. The conference was fine in the space they were in. If they had lost Florida State and if they had lost Clemson, that was a whole different discussion. It still wouldn't have helped them. There really isn't many schools out there that could have helped the ACC. There's not much you can get right now. The only schools that are worth anything that they're holding on to are these two plus Notre Dame in terms of basketball. That's it.
Right.
Those are the only chips the ACC has right now. And thinking, Cal, SMU, and Stanford, those are good additions.
Right.
What? As you've discussed, what markets do those schools add? What market does SMU add? What market does Cal add?
Okay, look,
Stanford.
SMU brings this. Okay, first of all, the Dallas market's a good market.
Yes,
no getting around it.
But where are they in the Dallas market?
Oh, they don't
75.
I mean, let's see. The Cowboys, no matter what they do, are number one. The Mavericks made the NBA Finals. Dallas Stars were in the Stanley Cup Western Conference Finals. And the Texas Rangers are the defending world champions in baseball. Okay?
Yeah.
SMU, no.
I'd probably put the Dallas Wings above them.
But there are more University of Texas fans in Dallas by a wide margin than SMU fans. It's not even okay? So UT has exponentially more fans there than SMU does. And they're down in Austin, a couple hundred miles away. And they don't bring anything to the table. Okay? And please don't play the silly game. Oh, look, Stanford. Please, nobody is going. They're not sitting in a conference room going, boy, Stanford's really good at like 12 different sports. Yeah, but are they any good at football? No, they really aren't. No, then we don't want them. Sorry. That again, let's go back to theory. We just talked about theory versus reality. Right? The professor that put forward the deal on the valuation of Pac-12 schools was doing theory. We're talking reality here. Okay? That's just what it comes down to. Right? Stanford and Cal are going to get not $50 million sport, $11 million. Because guess what? In the current marketplace, that is their value. You missed by $39 million.
Woof. I
mean,
a lot of money.
I mean, but you sit there and you say to yourself, who comes up with this stuff? Everybody. Not everybody. When I read that, I looked at it and go, what's he thinking? He's not even close. I mean, UCLA was hoping to get 44, like 40 to 44. That's if USC stayed in with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's still not 50.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what?
And the fact that the schools then listen to this person is what astounds me.
Well,
like
it's even more than that, because when he put the valuation out there, USC and UCLA had already announced they're going.
Mm-hmm.
It was for the 10 remaining schools. Like,
and so the value would have been what, like probably 30-ish, 40 at best.
I would say at best 35.
Yeah,
at best.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But you knew they were going to get there. Mm-hmm. They ended up getting offered 25.
Yeah.
Now, they were offered between 30 and 35 with the ESPN deal, and they turned it down.
And they should have taken it.
Because this guy's really smart.
Mm-hmm.
Over here in the back, common sense, no.
Mm-hmm. Play silly games, win silly prizes.
Yeah. So you've got now you got the Clemson Florida State thing. We all knew, for example, that yesterday was going to come and go with nothing.
Yeah.
Because right now they're locked in a court battle. And since they're locked in a court battle, they can't make a move right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they are locked in to 25-26 based on the contract. And now we'll see what the courts say.
Mm-hmm.
The grant of rights is a big deal. They signed it twice. This opt-in on ESPN, part of the opt-in, because the contract goes to 27 with the opt-in to 36, is the ability of ESPN, which owns and operates the ACC network. ESPN owns and operates the ACC network.
Part of it.
Just like they own and operate the SEC network.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a big deal to them to get their other sports out there the way the Big Ten does, the way the SEC does. And the Big 12 doesn't have a network like that. They don't. And I don't know. It's one of those, it's a mess. The courts will have to straighten it out. Right now, between grant of rights and exit fees, it'd be a little bit more than $500 million. You would need a lot of private equity to make up for that.
Bet you would.
But then you'd have to have a landing spot. Now, there seems to be a lot of swagger that, we'll find a landing spot. Like where? I mean, I go back to what I talked about in Jacksonville back in April. And I said the same thing in Daytona as well. Because you're naturally going to be asked this question.
It's because the hot topic.
No, but you're standing in Florida. So if I'm standing in Florida, I'm going to get a question about Florida State. And I was asked directly about expanding to 20. I said, and my answer was simple. I said, I'd like to see how 18 works first. It's never been done. 18's never been done in college sports. Let's see how 18 works.
And I guarantee you, the SEC wants to see how it works this season with Texas 16. And Oklahoma. They want to figure this out.
Yep.
Because if it doesn't work really well, they have kinks to work out. They're not going to want to be like, let's add 2 more into this mix to make it even more fun. No, they're going to say, let's wait, let's hold off, let's figure this out. Like, would they love to have Florida State and Clemson? Sure, but they would rather not have a cluster of teams that are just exploding because nothing makes sense and nothing works, and their expenses are going sky high.
See, would they love to have Florida State and Clemson? You can be too big. And the one area where I've given the Big Ten a lot of credit in football and in men's basketball, you play over a 5-year span, you play everybody home and away, which I have advocated for years on this show. Everybody knows that listens to it. I don't understand. I kept saying, "Why? I don't understand how they're doing the Big Ten football schedule. You should be playing everybody home and away over a span of," I think I said 4 years at that point.
Yeah.
Maybe, I guess like one school would have made it 5. Okay. Right. I said, that's the way it should be. You should be playing, when they had the division, 7 and 7.
Yeah.
And when it was 6 and 6, when it was 6 and 6, I advocated for, hey, look, you should be playing everybody in a 4-year span. 3, roll over, 3, roll over, 3, roll over. 4 years, you play.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody home and away. And then when it went to 14. I said, look, there'll be one team that'll be in the new rotation in the 5th year, that you'll do home and away.
Yeah.
I said, that's the way it should be. And, of course, they didn't do it. But then when they came out with this plan, which was extremely well thought out and executed, where you play everybody home and away in a 5-year span, that means every team that the player gets, if you stay 5 years, you'll play in everybody's stadium at some point. And for the fan, that means you are assured in the next 5 years that Michigan will play in Beaver Stadium. Ohio State will. USC will. Oregon will. Washington will. UCLA will, starting this season. They'll all be here.
And if you are a Penn State fan who lives in Oregon, you are assured Penn State's going to be in Oregon within a 5-year span.
They're going to play a game out there. Then in basketball, you're going to play the other 17 schools, 3 home and aways and 14 one plays, which is something I talked about a year ago. That's what I thought they were going to do. And so that's what they've done.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. That's a conference. Conference plays everybody.
Yes.
Okay, that's the okay. A league does not. The SEC scheduling is, as usual, bizarre.
We've discussed that a lot.
Right.
That hurts
that's because of the 8-game schedule, which they refuse to budge on. If they go to 9, they've got a better shot at playing everybody. And we all know about the Georgia-Texas A&M thing. That Georgia's never played a game at Texas A&M. I think next year.
Maybe. Who knows? It'll get canceled, Steve.
Right?
Give it a week.
I mean, I think Georgia will do everything they can to get out of it. But I mean, you don't want to be a league. When you're starting to go into 20, 22, 24, you're becoming a league and not a conference. And that to me is that's not what it should be. But we're also in an era where there are a lot of things. The other night I was in Harrisburg. And they all spoke very highly of you.
Of course.
No surprise. They were confused about the Syracuse thing. I said, don't.
They said, what school?
They go,
that in Italy?
What? Who? And NIL came up. I explained NIL of all the questions I get, and I end up doing a dozen of these. I think I've got one more to go. That's the Pittsburgh one with Jack. That's the Duquesne Club. I get the constant question I get, besides, is Drew Aller any good? is Drew Aller any good? Is he better?
Is Drew Aller good? How does Jack Ham smell?
Yeah,
and
I get asked about NIL a lot. A lot. And it's not going away. But this $22 million part, I explained, people thought that it was coming from the NCAA, and I said, it's not. I said, you have to come up with the funds yourself. I said, I told them, I said, Penn State can handle it. I said, doesn't mean they don't need donations to do this. I said, but they can handle it. I said, because between the TV contract, the media contract, between the new Playfly contract and other elements, they're in better position to handle it. But then I talked about the pilot deal. Now, when Susan Robinson asked me about the pilot deal, and I said, Susan, I only know it's for 20 years. It wasn't until we were doing the show yesterday I mentioned that it appeared to be $80 million.
Two to four, somewhere in that range, money-wise, per year.
About $4 million, and they're getting $2 million a year for the naming rights of Thompson Bowling Arena. I can't remember what organization that was with. It was with Burpee Seeds or something. No, I'm just kidding. So that's $6 million right there. That does make a dent. And as we mentioned the other day, the NCAA, one of their biggest problems, I was talking about Yormark. Yormark at least gives the sense that he's a forward thinker. But he's got a bad deck of cards, and so he's essentially talking big but hanging on. Sorry. Yeah. He doesn't have a great deck of cards.
He's staying in the game.
Right.
But
his chips
are low.
He's keeping his group alive. He talks a big game, but everybody knows he's just talking a big game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's got a terrific basketball conference.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas, Baylor, Arizona. I mean, Colorado's pretty good. I mean, Iowa State's good.
Yeah.
Kansas State's been good.
Mm-hmm.
But Sankey is a forward thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people don't like his ideas.
Mm.
I think I've talked to Tony Petitti enough now where I feel like Tony Petitti's a forward thinker.
Mm-hmm.
But the NCAA is not a forward-thinking organization. They are a reactive organization. And they keep going to Congress with the hat in hand saying, bail us out of our problems,
Mm-hmm.
NIL and so forth. What they need is an antitrust exemption, is what they need, like other sports have. They do need that. The question is whether they would get it. But when it comes to, they're always late to the party. They are in the mess they are in right now because they kept doing check and delay, and they delayed it so much that finally, when the bill came, it was gigantic.
Yeah.
So now you have NIL. You have a transfer portal where anybody can move anytime they want. They have more freedom than an NFL player or an NBA player. Okay. You have the back pay part of the lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
You have the moving forward $22 million per school added in from the lawsuit. And you need to have a way to pay for it. So, typical of the NCAA, they had an opportunity to allow you to put corporate sponsorships in stadiums and on fields and on courts.
Mm-hmm.
They did it. Bully for them. That's a great move.
Mm-hmm.
They delayed and tabled the idea of doing sponsorships on uniforms. What's wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand this at all.
Yeah.
I have schools across the country that have to come up with money.
Mm-hmm.
Why not let them do it now and get a head start
on paying that money?
On paying that bill.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they don't give them a head because they don't have forward thinkers. Somebody in the room has to say, look, guys, we got to give everybody a head start on this. Everybody. Right? Let's take, I'll give you an example. Let's not talk about Penn State. Let's take Penn State out of it for a moment. Let's take Bucknell. Okay? Bucknell. They're going to see a drop in NCAA distribution, just like Penn State. But the difference is they don't have, they have football.
They don't have Penn State football.
Yeah, they have Patriot League football. Okay, FCS. Well, that's a money loser. So let's push that to the side. But they have to, sit there and they're going to get less from the NCAA tournament distribution because of the House settlement. Right? Not a big drop, but it's going to be a drop. So 18 months ago, Jeremy Truax, the athletic director at Bucknell, is at least thinking a 5-year plan. This isn't in there.
Yeah.
He's thinking they're going to at least be getting this number from the NCAA every year, maybe a little bit more based on what's going on, right? Well, now he's going to see a drop. Why don't you allow them to sell
naming rights for everything?
Naming rights, jerseys, things, and jerseys and so forth, so they can make up for it. I don't understand which knucklehead in the room. Okay? Get with the modern program. And again, we point out all the time what I admire about the uniform logos is actually how subtle they are.
We've discussed them ad nauseum. They look good. They're not eye-popping. They're there.
They're there, but they're just there. It's not as if they're like it's fly Emirates. Like, oh, okay. If I had a transfer window like they do, I guess I'd need to fly Emirates too. And I don't know. This organization has been hampered by incredibly poor leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark Emmert is the poster child for I have no idea what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's no longer there.
Yeah.
But he did more in his tenure to sink the organization than anybody else. I'm going to get tough on Penn State. You're wrong, okay? You're absolutely wrong, okay, Mark? Let's just spell it out for you, no uncertain terms, okay? You did it the wrong way.
Yes.
Completely. And from that point on, you lost the respect of a lot of people across the country. You notice they don't do that anymore because, again, reactive. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be tough. Sit down.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
He has his own back door. No, I'm not kidding.
No,
to the
I know.
NCAA tour, has his own back door. Only his private entrance is the arena. Walk in like everybody else. Mm-hmm. Nobody cares who you are. No, I'm sorry. I mean, the amount of money he made when he was there, legalized stealing.
Yeah. I would like to, I have a topic for you. I have a question for you. Should be interested by it. It is not soccer related. Is that a positive for you?
So far, so good.
Awesome. So there are rumors, of course, following this past few years of the pitch clock being implemented in the MLB, that there would be a minimum innings rule for pitchers in the MLB. The minimum inning requirement would be 6 innings. There would be exceptions to that if you've thrown 100 pitches, you could exit early. If you've given up 4 or more earned runs, you could exit early. If you are injured, you also, with a required injury list stint, you could avoid manipulation in that regard. You could also exit the game early. So pitchers would be mandated to make it through 6 innings pretty much. And before we get to just like the idea of it, I first want to just ask the question of like, pitchers aren't going as far into games as they used to. I think Blake Snell just completed his first 2 8+ inning games, or at least completed his first full 9 innings, and it was during his no-hitter. Mm-hmm. So he just finally made it there as one of the best in baseball.
Right.
And it feels like 8 years ago, CeCe Sabathia was going complete games every other game. Mm-hmm. But now it's far and few between pitchers go that far. How would you feel about this being a rule implemented alongside those caveats of pitch count and earned runs, all this stuff?
All right. Let's start with this. I'm against the 3-batter rule for relievers. Mm-hmm. I have been from the day it was put in.
Yeah.
So I'm against that. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm against that, I'm against the 6-inning rule. Mm-hmm. Now, do I think starting pitchers should be going 6 and 7 innings? Damn right I do. Mm-hmm. I mean, they should be. Okay? I don't understand why pitchers from way back when, I mean, was Bob Gibson's arm falling off at the end of his career? No. Mm-mm. Greg Maddux? No. Mm-mm. Tom Glavine? No. John Smoltz? No. Okay? I mean, go through the line. Don Drysdale? No. I mean, on and on and on. You want a long list of pitchers who logged a lot of innings and threw a lot of complete games? All right? Are they running around and can't throw a ball to their grandkids? Nope. Mm-mm. Right? Guess what? This has a lot to do with they need to do a better job of off-season conditioning with pitchers, which means they need to be allowed. You have spring training? No, you need to be allowed to have OTAs down in spring training where you're sitting there in a strength and conditioning program with the team. Yeah. Do you need time off? Of course you do. Absolutely. But they should be doing more work, and they should be bringing in guys like that saying, what was your regiment? What allowed you to do this? Okay, yeah, I want consultants. I want to bring in John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux. I want to ask them, what was your regiment where you're pitching 7, 8 innings a game that we need to take a long, hard look at? What did you do in the off season that kept your arm, in place where guess what? You took the ball in August and you're still throwing 7 innings and have no problem doing, maybe giving us 8 innings. It has to be more to do with that than the pitch count thing. Okay? The pitch count thing got out of control years ago. It got out of control years ago. Right? And 100's the magic number. What the 100's a magic? Not a magic number. When I watched Game 4 of the 1975 World Series, the Red Sox won the game 5-1. Louis Tiant threw 163 pitches in a complete game.
Yeah.
And guess what? Took the ball in Game 6.
Yeah.
Like, come on. You're telling me you can't do it?
We had, what? It was a few years ago, Madison Bumgarner pitched Game 1, Game 4, and Game 7.
Yes.
Like, he got on the mound and said, put me out there.
Game 7, well, he came on in relief in Game 7.
But he still was like,
and I think
use me.
And I think he went 6 innings, right?
Yeah, but that was the point. Yeah. He was like, I don't care if I've already pitched 2 other games.
Right.
Chuck me in there.
Right.
Like, let me go at him. Exactly. I want to win this game.
Right.
The only 2 pitchers that are currently not either retired or inactive that are on the 100 most pitched list in terms of innings are Verlander and Zach Greinke. Greinke's currently a free agent. Verlander is currently not pitched this season, or he's pitched 57 innings, I guess. This season,
but Verlander's over 40 years old now. Come on. Good,
And Greinke is not a young guy either. He debuted in 2004. Like, those are the only players in the top 100.
I mean, I have no problem with them changing a reliever because I've got a left-handed hitter up. Okay, I know it takes more time, but I'm against the 3-batter rule.
Yes.
Right? And I've been against the 3-batter rule from the moment they proposed it, because a manager should be allowed to manage. Okay, and I'm against 6 innings for starting pitchers as a rule. Okay, they should be going 6, 7, and 8 innings because they're conditioned to go 6, 7, and 8 innings, not because it's mandated.
And I get the idea, and the one thing people say is, "Oh, we're scared about having someone go through the order for a 3rd time." How do you think people get perfect games and no hitters? They go through it a 3rd time.
Right.
So, like,
I know
they physically have to do certain things. Like, it's part of the game. If you are not good enough to face a batter a 3rd time in a rotation, I don't want you being a starting pitcher for me. Because at some point, you're going to get bad against a 2nd time through a pitcher.
This is part of the stupidity.
It's crazy.
This is part of the stupidity that we have seen from analytics. Oh, no, and Brian Kenny was one of the... I think Brian Kenny's an excellent broadcaster, but I also think on the subject of analytics, he's a bully.
Yeah.
All right? Well, you got to look at a bully and go, guess what? You're wrong. Okay? Doesn't mean all analytics are wrong. I want all the information possible. But the 100 pitch thing? No. If you're better conditioned, okay, like, I mean, what was it about pitchers way back when where they just took the ball and I mean, it doesn't mean Walter Johnson didn't have a sore arm at some point. Of course he did. Right? But he kept taking the ball. And, when I look at the 6 inning thing, it's all about, how many pitches have you thrown? And the 3rd time through the order thing, guess what? If you're sitting there and you have a 3-hitter through the first 2 times through the order, you know what that tells me? They can't hit you.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what analytics does not account for?
What does not account for, Steve?
Common sense and feel.
Yeah.
Right? And guess what? Both are like the wind. Okay? You can feel it, but you can't see it. Analytics need to see it. They need to see data. Right? So it doesn't take into account feel for the game, and it doesn't take into account common sense. And you have, the problem is it's not managers. And I'll give you an example. Let's take an example. The managers in the MLB Draft League have a better feel on how to handle extra innings, as did the managers in the New York Penn League, the Major League managers. Why? You never see, I should say, you rarely see, well, we've got David Hamilton on second, and Raphael at the plate to start the inning.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody think about bunting him over? Now, if there's a wild pitch, an error, a ball deep in the hole at short, a fly ball to the outfield, like these are all like potential outs, right? Okay, wild pitch, pass ball, whatever. I can get him home. No. We need to have exit velocity, and we need to have uppercut swings. No, I think I'm trying to win the game here. You never see that on the major league level because it's not managers. It's the front office.
Yeah.
The front office is now, through analytics, dictating batting orders. The front office is now dictating strategy. The guy doesn't want to bunt. The guy wants to get the RBI because when he goes in to talk for his next contract, look at the RBI I got. Nobody talks about the sacrifice bunt you put down.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all things that over and over and over again happen. And they're all for the wrong reasons. I mean, the key is to play winning baseball.
If you go back to 96 through 2000, just those 5-year stretch, the league leaders in innings pitched, the lowest number was David Wells with Toronto in 99 with 231 innings pitched. In the last 4 seasons, not including 2020, because that is an anomaly because of the virus, the highest number of innings thrown by a pitcher is 228 in any of those seasons by Sandy Alcantara 2022.
Yep.
Everyone else under him. Robbie Ray 191. Garrett Cole 209. Zach Wheeler 213. They're all sub this number. Every pitcher in the back in the last 15, 20 years, they were cracking 230 was the number you'd get if you led the league. They're not getting close to that at this point. They're a start or two behind it.
Yeah.
Like they're losing an inning a game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just like a quote unquote old way of thinking. I don't know if I'm the old man who's screaming like at the kids on his lawn anymore. I don't know if that's me at 24 years old.
Yeah.
But I've sat there and watched Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee and CeCe Sabathia and Felix Hernandez go 8 innings, and that was when you knew you were a good pitcher. If you can get 8 innings, you get to your closer, game over. Or you get through 7. That was like the number. You get through 7, and after that, you figure it out. That's where the magic happens. That's why you had a closer who was great for 1 inning. Now teams have a guy who's great in the 5th inning. Why did a guy who's great in the 5th inning? Your starter should get you through at least 6, probably get you to 7 innings. That's where a good starter gets you.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him getting 5 innings of great work. I want to see him getting me 7 innings of great work.
Right.
And part of the problem is they're throwing harder and they're throwing all these things and there's this focus on spin rate and whatever. And I guess the hope behind the 6 inning thing is it promotes the idea of not pitching 105 mile an hour every pitch because that's what also hurts arms, but bringing it back down to like 100, 101, making it so you focus more on having longevity because I don't think we've seen DeGrom pitch this season. I want to see Jacob DeGrom going a full 9 innings. That's what I want to see happen. I want to see Garrett Cole going 9. I don't want to see him going 4.5 and getting pulled. I don't want to see Blake Snell going out there and getting yanked in the 5th inning of a game.
A World Series
or a
game,
World Series game. I don't want to see that happening, but that's part of the problem. That's why the pitch inning, the 3-batter rule was implemented to try and find a way to combat it. Bad rule.
Yeah,
the pitch clock, I think, has done some good for baseball. It's sped the game up. It's helped in certain aspects, and that was at least something that like hasn't been a negative.
Right.
I don't know if 6 innings. I think maybe 5 innings would be a start. And you just start at 5 inning minimum and try and bump it up to 6. Because like it's absurd that they're not getting there.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that. I mean, to me, it's a game of strategy. Okay, so let's take it to a completely different sport. What the NFL is doing with the kickoff rule when it comes to onside kicks is just wrong because you have to declare that you're going to do it.
In 2010, Sean Payton would have had to declare, I'm going for an onside kick in the Super Bowl and to start the second half.
Strategy is the ability to get your opponent off guard.
What Peyton did.
So now let's go back to baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if I want to sit there in the fourth inning, I don't like what I'm seeing, I want to change the pitcher up, I'm going to change the pitcher up because I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't want to feel like I'm stuck. Right? Because of a rule. I'm stuck. I mean, if Russell Wilson's not playing well, Mike Tomlin is not stuck. He can bring in Justin Fields anytime he wants. Right? If Skinner's having a bad night in the nets for the Edmonton Oilers, they can change whenever they want. Kyrie Irving's missing 1,000 shots.
Yeah.
I can put him on the bench and watch him pout and put somebody else in. Well, it's the same thing with this, with a pitcher. I don't want to be stuck as a manager. I want to have the freedom to manage the game the way I think I need to manage it.
I think there's a difference between managing a game and over-strategizing a game. And I have a feeling that that is where the game has gone. That, of course, we saw it with the Rays, where they took Snell out, and we sat there and went, what are you doing?
Right.
Because they are overdoing it with strategy, and they're not relying on the fact that these guys are good at what they do. I want to go in the next 4 years and see Paul Skeens throw a complete game. I want to go and see 10 years ago, Yu Darvish throw a complete game. That's what I love seeing that happen.
Right.
It's part of the game, is that can happen. Nowadays, it's a surprise if a guy gets 8 innings because people will get to the 5th inning and say, you know what, let's start strategizing the best way to face each of these 3 batters. It's no longer, let's see how far he can get us, and as soon as there's even a sniff he's not doing well, we'll pull him. That was okay. You get 6 1/3 innings, CeCe Bathley gives up a double, you're like, okay, let's pull him now. Like, there's a chance something goes wrong. He's been rough this last half inning. Okay, yank him. Cool with me. That's fine. But you don't pull him in the 5th inning and just be like, we're not even going to risk anything possibly happening because we want to get these 4 guys in for an inning apiece when CeCe is your best pitcher.
Right.
Look, they're over-strategizing the game.
It's
It's making it less fun, Steve. It's making it less fun, and they keep wanting to implement more fun into the baseball game. Okay, part of the fun is you see a dude like Garrett Cole or Randy Johnson or Greg Maddux go for a complete game shutout.
Right.
And the fun of watching a good pitcher pitch, like Paul Skeens, I want to see him do that.
Right.
I don't want to see Skeens pulled in the 6th inning when he's got a perfect game going. Heck no. I would never want to see that. The fact that that's now where we're at, where people are getting...
He got pulled with a no-hitter.
Multiple people have been pulled.
In Milwaukee.
There has been multiple pitchers pulled with no-hitters in perfect games because teams are strategizing. Let the dude pitch. Like, there is not a single pitcher I've seen who's been pulled from one of those situations who's been happy about it. Not a single one. Because they're like, I want to go out there. And my goal as a pitcher is to go 9 innings perfect.
Yeah.
My goal is not to go 5 innings perfect. That's never their goal. Their goal is to go 9 perfect. And why are you pulling them early?
Look, Max Scherzer is not even remotely close to what he used to be. But my goodness, they pull him out of a game, and he acts as if he's going to... Like Roy Halladay was like that.
Yeah.
Roy Halladay's, what are you coming out here for? Why are you out here? I mean, he had Charlie Manuel, and believe me, Charlie Manuel was a terrific manager. I've talked to Chris Wheeler so many times about just how smart Charlie, and Roy Halladay respected him. But he'd walk out and he'd like, what are you doing here? You know, you can turn around and go back. I'm not done.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, over and over and over again. You've now babied the game to the point where it is not. They've taken a lot of enjoyment out of the game. The pitch clock brought a little bit of it back. The positional deal with the infielders brought a little bit of it back. But now the 3-hitter rule, I've never liked since day one. I thought, nope, don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, do not. Okay, that's. I know you're trying to speed the game up. That's not the way to do it. And a 6-inning minimum, no. If I'm the Players Association, I reject that as well. By the way, Penn State women's soccer, ranked 4th in the country, played 8th-ranked Texas Tech last night at Jeffrey Field, and wiped them out 4-0. 4-0. Like the game wasn't close.
See, Steve, soccer can be fun.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.